Bufford here, and I trust everybody had a really great Father's Day weekend, and I know I certainly did. And again, we value the contribution of our Trilogy dads, not just to their families and their those that they lead in a fatherly way, but also service to our campuses. God bless each and every one of you. Yes, I'm in the construction gear today. Yes, I'm going to do a little bit of analogies to kind of catch your interest, but framing some very important messages all around the theme of construction and building, if you will. The first of which is, anytime we're looking to improve and build on things at Trilogy, which we're always in the nature of doing, it has to start with developing really good plans. And this would go to also processes and so forth. And when you do develop building plans, you kind of design what you want to do, but you have to keep all of the physical construction ideas that you're putting in place in the construct of building codes and various allowances. Most of those are state, some city, and as you might suspect in our seniors housing, we have a fair bit of federal and state regulation around what we can build and how we build it, and fire safety rules and all that. Here at Trilogy, we likewise have those same constructs. We have our Trilogy service standards, which should be guiding us in our planning. We have pillar goals, which are kind of themed around our culture and our, service values. But more importantly, in every area of organization, I think we've done a really fine job over the years of developing best practices, policies, procedures. And as you're thinking about your planning, let's keep those in your strategies. Let's keep those in mind. And I think it'll go a longer way and much better, if you will, because we got to do things consistent with our practices, no different than the building codes. But yes, I'm dressed as that construction guy, but think of us today at Trilogy, secondly, as we're like the project foreman in our support roles. And if you think about our campuses and how we interact with them, there are several things that project foremen do out on the construction site that are very, very important. Now, we do divide our areas up by area of expertise, so let's think about that in that respect. But if you will, I mean, first and foremost, they're designed to make sure things are going well, and that's from an inspection standpoint. And I think that's something that we obviously have a responsibility as home office support when we're working with our campuses. First, we're making sure that things are going according to plans and that there aren't deviations from the plans. And that could be and you could see that in terms of outcomes, watching processes, checking, we always call it trust but verify, TBBing, if you will, and so forth. And then, like every other construction foreman, when you find something not going to plan, typically they have to report that. They write it down in reports and they work with the overall superintendent for the site, whatever to make things happen. We're no different. You would think of maybe your superintendent as being your DVP for that particular campus, but you have a certain responsibility that we have standards and codes, just like building codes. And if they're not being met, we have to identify them, and that's part of our job to be there and make sure. That's why a lot of times you'll see the inspections done. For example, the wiring and plumbing before somebody puts drywall over there. So it's an ongoing process that we need to think about as support. Secondly, one great thing that happens out on the job, and then sometimes a little more formally, and this will be the same for us, is the idea of apprenticeship and working with those people that are in the trades to develop their skills. And we're no different. And I applaud, for example, the clinical team who is working diligently under Barbara's leadership on competencies. Yes, you would think all of the plumbers that come to a site know exactly how you want the plumbing done. But a good construction foreman is out there making sure that they are exhibiting the right competencies, because he or she knows that if they don't do that, then there's going to be follow-up later from that standpoint. So if we're in a situation in a campus, for example, dining services, are we watching how they're preparing the meals, how they're garnishing, and sending that out? And then as they're looking, not meeting that standard, are we stepping in to say, hey, let me show you the way here? Likewise, I'm on carpets right now. We've invested heavily in carpets, but I'm continually seeing staining and carpets being replaced too early. Very disappointed in our support of this effort. This is a skill set that has to be developed. But are we actually watching while the carpeting is being cleaned and they're using our equipment? And the best training is on the job training, right? Let's just all not run out and do these big seminars and bring people together. A, that's expensive. B, it's not as effective. So, certainly apprenticeship, training on the job, those are things we need to be working on. Last but certainly not least, a construction foreman is out there. He's going to make sure the place is properly staffed. And that's an area of responsibility that we have as the home office to support and making sure we got the right resources. And I was by a campus the other day, and there was no way they could absolutely do their jobs, in the department I was reviewing because they just didn't have enough people there. And, it's our part to kind of join in and help with that and ensure that we're doing the right staffing, we're using them at the right time. No different than a construction foreman. He'd be looking at saying, hey, we've got a certain amount of work to accomplish, and we only have 2 plumbers out on the job today or 3 electricians. And boy, that's a lot of square footage for them to have, for them to handle. And so they'd report back in, to their construction superintendent and say, hey, we got to get on these subcontractors and get enough people out here to do the job. And again, your superintendent's going to be that DVP. So let's remember that. And then last but not least, in how we conduct ourselves as we go through this, putting the plans together, ensuring they meet standards, and then doing that, all important section I just talked about of inspection, apprenticeship, and staffing. We need to be doing it in a way that actually builds our culture, which is another thing that you can see right across the top of this old helmet that's very important to us because that's the safety net, if you will, for the construction of everything that we do at Trilogy. Because if you think about it, once you work with that plumber and you show him that we have a high standard for how we're going to pull these fittings together, how we're going to test them, and how we're going to do it consistently, and then you don't approve as the construction foreman any shoddy work, then that person's going to learn like, hey, this is a foreman. His culture is he expects it to be done right. He's not being mean to me when he's showing me. In fact, he's actually showing me the way, but he's supervising me. So we need to be doing the same thing, exhibiting all traits of our culture, all the while doing these other things that I've just described in the previous 7 minutes of the video as it relates to, supporting great plans that are consistent with our policies, our procedures, our standards. And then on the execution side, making sure it's happening with great inspection. And when it's not, stepping in with the apprenticeship kind of thought process and ensuring that everybody has the right staffing resources, all part of our construction foreman oversight. And in closing, yes, working on that culture. So great things happening out at Trilogy campuses. A lot of the things I'm actually talking to you about are already in process and happening. But I do know that in orientation the last few months, and we've got some new support people, and sometimes people may not understand their role. And they certainly probably didn't think they were signing up for a construction role, but you get the analogy. So keep working it hard, keep building. Blocks to success is the way we go at Trilogy, and thanks for all you do as we continue on our best healthcare company Midwest journey. Take care, build it, foundation strong forever. God bless.